a second. All right, shalom, shalom. All right, shalom. All right. Before I begin, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachah HaKodash. Double honors to my other apostles, the great millstone. Peace and salutation to the hopeful members of the elect, the B'chayim of the house of David, that's been preordained, predestined to get delivered in these last times and to be the ruling governing body of the nation Yasha'Allah. All right, here once again to prophesy the downfall of America, aka Babylon, okay, this whole Edomite system, this Edomite infrastructure, okay, because it will collapse. There will be a mandation of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, and then pursuing after that will be World War III, and then after that, or in the midst of that, all right, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, because that name, that word, that name, Jesus, didn't come until the 1500s. 1524, the letter J didn't come, until 1524, all right? And then if you look deeper, Jesus, okay? Either way, that's a Greek title, it's a Greek name. The true name of the Heavenly Father's only begotten Son is Yahushai, and he looks like a so-called Negro, all right? As well as the Most High Yahweh, which that's his true name as well, okay? Meaning he is, or he exists. Yahushai meaning he will deliver, because that's what he's going to come and do, all right? He's going to deliver the elect throughout the four corners of the earth, man, all right? So, let me get a scripture to set it off, all right? It's Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1. The title is The Burden of Babylon. It says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah, the son of Amos, did see. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. Okay, and we're lifting up that banner, all right, this truth. Coming out here prophesying, all right, the downfall of this Edomite infrastructure, okay, the so-called white man's kingdom, all right, America. All right, we're lifting up that banner. We're prophesying, telling you what's going to happen. All right, it's going to be, again, it's going to be World War III. Before that, it's going to be the mandation of RFID chip. These elites, they're going to force a chip on everybody. They're going to collapse the system. All right, worldwide economies are going to collapse, and they're going to force a chip on you. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Then what? World War III is going to pursue after that. All right, we're telling these Edomites, these elites, their own future, what's going to happen. And then, once Yahushai delivers the elect, all right, dismantle this man's agenda, his plans, as it says in Job chapter 5. Let me get that as well. All right. He's going to set up his kingdom, Yahushai. Okay. It's Job chapter 5, verse 12. He, talking about Yahushai, he disappointed the devices of the crafty. All right, the devices of the crafty are the elites, their agenda, their goals. Okay, and it says, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. All right, the enterprise is what? Their new world order. All right, these Edomites, they have an agenda to depopulate the earth. All right, and implement and establish their new world order. All right, you see. And it's beautiful because now you got all this social media exposing this man's plans. Really, the prophets first, man. Apostles, elders, they've been doing it for years. Y'all people barely caught on, man. We've been telling y'all for years, and really you still don't got the whole idea, the whole clue. All right? You don't have the whole truth, okay? But it's beautiful how this man's being revealed, all right? Really, from the prophets, starting with us. As it says in I think in Psalms 54, his own tongue falling upon him. All right, I believe that song. Let me see. Give me 1 second. All right, but let me just finish this. All right, and it says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform the enterprise. Right, the new order. All right, let me get Psalms. Okay, I believe it's 54 or 64, if I'm not mistaken. All right. But the social media, that's another reason why they want to get rid of the social media, because it's too much information. It's, revealing their plans, these elites, all right? And also, the awakening of Israel, these elites, they really fear that, man. They don't fear you, you know, you whistleblowers, you regular peons. No, they fear the true men of the Lord, man. All right, when they see them chariots, they see Israel, Yasha'Allah waking back on their feet, and ultimately it's about the elect. That's what these elites fear, man. Okay? I believe it's Psalms 54, verse, or maybe, no, that's not it, 56. Let me see. If I can't get it, you know, I'll just, you know, like I said, roughly paraphrasing, man. All right, but again, you know, hey, their tongue is falling upon themselves, man. Meaning these whistleblowers out here, these other Edomites, all right? You know, they're exposing the elite's plans, okay? All right, here it is. Psalm 64, verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue, or their own. You got other Edomites exposing, you know, these elites' agendas and just other things, man, what they're doing. All right? You see? I was watching one chick, Whitney Webb. She could be a Jake, I don't know. She looked like an Edomite, but she goes into everything. All right? Tune into her. But she was going into the music, and which we've been knowing, but how these elites, they came in, they infiltrated, they told Jake what to sing, what to rap about, all right? They're the ones that supplied us with drugs, and they put it in our neighborhoods, okay? And they get these heathens to come in and set up shop and sell us products that lead to our people's downfall, alcohol and you know, pork, things like that, man. Hey, remember that movie, Do the Right Thing? All right? You got them two Jakes on the corner, and one Jake's like, man, look at that shit. And he was pointing out a Korean store. He's like, they haven't even been here a whole 2 years, and they already got a shop set up. All right? But here it is, Jake got to go through fucking hurdles and hoops to get a business, man. All right? Not saying Jake don't have businesses, okay? But these heathens, man, when they set up shop, it's easy. All right? It's easy, man. You know? But again, these elites, man, they're the ones that brought in drugs, all right? Infiltrated our neighborhoods and destroyed our people. So you Edomites, you look at Jake, because Jake is at a low state, but who was the cause of it, man? All right? Here it is. You see, you Edomites love to pick history. You think that Jake, you go into your statistics, say Jake is lazy, but here it is. We built this whole nation, man. All right? Actually, let me get this real quick. We built this whole nation, all right? Got so many scriptures flowing through my head, all right? But let me get Wisdom of Solomon. Get your little faggot ass home. My bad, slack y'all again. Today I just, man, it be like that. I just, you know, this is that spirit of the day where it's like, I just want this shit to end. I just want to, hey, vex you, man. All right. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, then shall the righteous man, all right, the elect are the men of the Lord. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, all right, these Edomites, these elites, okay, and made no account of his labors, right? They made no account of our labors. We're the ones that built up this nation. All right, Israelite men and women, okay, Israelites period, created so many inventions, man, all the 12 tribes, man, okay, you know, all the 12 tribes had a hand in creating great inventions that people use throughout the world today, okay. A lot of the great inventions came from out of here of America, from Judah, Gad, and Reuben, all right, some Negroes looking like Judah, but, you know, a lot of them be Gad as well, but a lot of the inventions came from us, man. And these devils stole it and they put a patent on it, man. All right, the stove, the street lights, all right? The cars, yourself, all that came from us. You devils just took it and put a patent on it, man. That's why it's so confusing. People think that actually came from white men. No, all right? It came from Israelites, man. Scriptures say how, you know, we're the form of all things, man. All right? You know, we're the former of all things. Okay? That's the truth, man. All right? But going back to, you know, Psalms, how their own tongue shall fall upon them. All right? You know, that's another reason why, again, these elites, they want to shut down the internet. All right? Again, because, you know, the prophets, all right, these whistleblowers, okay? All right, Psalms 64, verse, I was just reading it too. All right, verse 8 again, it says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away. All right, again, your whistleblowers, okay? Their own tongue falling upon themselves. But let's go back to Isaiah 13 chapter, all right? Let's go back to that. Because that's imperative, all right? Because we're literally doing that today. We're doing that right now as we speak. You have brothers, all right, throughout the four corners of the earth, declaring the end of this man's kingdom, right? And especially brothers in America and Babylon, we're doing it right in this man's own backyard, in his own, like, America's the epicenter of this man's kingdom, all right? This is like the main setting place, all right, of the Most High's movie of the end, okay? Babylon, man, America, okay? Isaiah 13 verse 2, when it says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, the banner of the truth. The high mountains represent governments. We're telling Esau, all right, his own kingdom, you know, that's compromised with different governments, all right? We're telling this man that his system's going down, his kingdom's going down. Exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles, all right? The gates of the nobles, these elites, man, all right? We're telling these elites what's going to come, all right? We're telling them that they're going to be put in slavery. We're telling them that the chariots of the Lord is on their way, which they see, all right? You know, I just saw a chariot, like what, 2 days ago, man. It was daytime, all right? It made me look up. It was daytime, it made me look up. It was just rotating. I could just see like that illumination reflecting off the metal, all right? I'll just say, call Allah Yahweh Shemashah, you know? You know what I'm saying? You know, it was actually going this way too, where I'm pointing. It was going, you know, like towards like east, all right? But that's what we're doing, man, all right? Okay, well, hey, we're telling these elites that they're going down, man, all right? Okay. Slot, you bear me 1 second. 1 second. Now I'm gonna get to Revelation 20. All right. I want to get to this chapter. Okay. Revelation 20, verse 1, and it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, or the angel talking about Yahushua, okay, having the key of the bottomless pit, and that bottomless pit represents Europe, all right? The reason why, you know, it's referred to a bottomless pit because, you know, Europe is low in resources, all right? And it says, and a great chain in his hand, representing like a low state bondage, if you will. Okay, because these Edomites, they were put in a low state after the the pagan Roman Empire failed, all right, and Jake started to rule in what you call the Byzantine Empire or the Western Holy Roman Empire. That's when Esau Edom was at a very low state, all right. Which I'll give some scriptures on that, okay. And he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, right? And that goes to show you that that serpent in the garden, that was talking about a man, you know? That wasn't no literal serpent, all right? Because you have to understand, hey, the scriptures is written in parables, all right? We had 3 classifications of people back in the garden. It wasn't just Adam and Eve, no, it was many people, all right? You had the sons of God, the sons of the wicked, and the heathens, all right? You know, the sons of men, all right? Which the sons of the wicked, they fall into that category of the sons of men. Are heathens, but they're the sons of the wicked, which that's Esau Edom today, all right? Then that line went through Cain, and then after the flood, it came back all the way to Esau. And he's the progenitor of the so-called white race, all right? The Caucasians, they're not white. You know, always giving credit to Elder Malcolm, going into that history. What, 1684, all right, in West Virginia, that's when they created that social construct of white and black, man, all right? Because we're not black, okay, that's the color, it's not a nationality, all right? The Most High deals with nationality. He deals with one group of people, all right? It says, and bound him 1,000 years, okay? Again, going into some history, all right? Because when the Roman Empire fell, all right, if you go into history, I believe, what, 197 AD, that's when Jake started to rule. Or you had a man named Septimius Severus, all right? That's when Israelite men started to rule. Then going to 325 AD, when the Byzantine Empire was established under what? Constantine, all right? That's when Israelites started to rule, and Esau was in a lower state, really, all right? In the mountains, the Caucasus Mountains through, all right? Actually, let's get a scripture on that. Let's get Job. Job 30. Because when he was, again, that 1,000-year period, that's when we were ruling. Esau, you know, that chain that Lord put him in, that lower state, bondage. All right, in the Caucasus Mountains, most of them were primarily through at a lower state. And it's crazy how the Lord brought this man. That's how you know, hey, that shows you the power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. He can make any man, you know, rule. The basis of all men is Esau, Edom, and look at this kingdom. All right, it's a whack-ass kingdom, but, you know, I mean, look at it. All right, this man is ruling. You know, he has power and military might, man. And that's when Esau really started to, you know, because it started with the Greeks, all right? See that serpent, you know, it started off as a serpent. Now it's a big-ass dragon. Compromise, you know, the 7 heads and 10 horns, which compromised the NATO and EU. But it started off with the Greeks, okay? Actually, I'm going to go into that, to some history, you know? I'm going to go into that, to some history, all right? But let me get Job. Chapter 30, verse 2. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands perform it, profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness at former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Right, that's what actually sustained the so-called white man, or these Edomites, was that juniper root. That was one of them. You look at the benefits, all right, that has a lot of benefits, man, juniper, okay? It says they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys and caves of the earth and in the rocks, right? Hey, these devils, you know, they were dwelling in the Caucasus Mountains, all right? That's where they were dwelling at. You know what I'm saying? That's where they were dwelling at, man. You know, a majority of them, all right? You know, we still have some roaming in other parts of Europe, all right? Because, you know, I'd love to go back in time one day, one in the kingdom. I just want to see how Esau came up, like how did he grow back in power? All right, obviously the Most High made him, but how did like start? You know, it was through gradualism. You know, he was probably close to, you know, certain Israelite nobles and being like their right-hand man and whatever, man. Sooner or later, you know, that blessing came upon him again. He started to rule. All right. Now that rulership, it was Spain. You know, they were going throughout the, you know, to the Americas, reigning, establishing, you know, their colonies. Then the French. All right, that goes to the three horns, and then what? The Great Britain. All right, and then that little horn represents America. Okay, but yeah, they were put away. All right, going back to that 1,000 years. That's when they were in that low state. Okay, so it makes sense. All right, it's after the fall of the Roman Empire. All right. Okay, because actually, let me get some history. Let me get Daniel. All right, let me get Daniel. So let's go into the beginning of when Esau started to rule. All right. Okay, let's get some history, man. So this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had," so that leopard represents King Alexander, which you can find in First Maccabees. Okay, he established the Greek Empire in 335 BC. All right, he had a 12-year reign. Okay, and then he miraculously died. Okay, the Most High got rid of him, and then that's when he transferred his rulership to his 4 generals. All right, Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Cassander. All right, and ultimately they started to rule. It wasn't like right away. It was because King Alexander died in 323 BC. All right, and hurry up, man. Yeah, it wasn't like they just ruled right away. If I'm not mistaken, you know, I was reading, you know, going to the generals when they started to rule. It was around like 301, 302 BC. All right, because you have, like, I forgot the word, but you have a certain time period. All right, you have a certain time period when there's like no rulership. I forgot the word, but it's like a pause button, if you will. But 301, 302, that's when these, you know, these Greek generals, they started to rule. All right. Let me just give these people some room. All right, and it says, "After this I beheld, and lo," and actually let me get that First Maccabees, just so you know, I can always back it up with scriptures, okay? Just so you know, any new brothers, you know, tap into that First and Second Maccabees, man. Tap into it. Sometimes you gotta go over it like many times. I'm reading all over again, actually, you know. This is First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse, and I'm gonna finish up with that Revelation 20. All right, I just want to make it all make sense. Okay, it says, "And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, came out of the land of Chittim, has smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes." See, so it's right after, you know, the Median Persian Empire. All right, he slayed Darius the Mede. Okay, and it says that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. See, this is when Edom started to rule everything. This is what this is literally the beginning of his empire. All right, that's why, if you remember, in middle school they say the first civilization was the Greek Empire, which is a total lie, because you had many empires actually before that, man. Again, the Median Persian, for example, and then before that, the Babylonians. And then Israel, we were a powerhouse, you know, the Syrians, okay? Hell, the Egyptians, you know? But they always want to skip over that. Why? Because this man's rulership, he tries to make himself look good. He's starting with his beginning, his story. Notice that word, history, his story, all right? So he says that the Greek Empire was the beginning of civilization, all right? But no, that was the beginning of the Edomites ruling and setting up, establishing the empire, all right? And then what happened through that? You know, them Hellenizing our people through that the Seleucus line and Ptolemy, all right? Those two main individuals and their progenitors, their sons, putting total hell on our people, especially of the Seleucus line, Antiochus, all right? His son Antiochus, all right? Or his offspring. They were putting total hell on our people, man. Okay? And it goes into all that. All right, if you read in First Maccabees, man, you know, how they would hang our babies, man. They would literally lynch them if they found that the mothers were circumcising them. They were forcing us to eat pork because this man was always trying to separate us from our power. And he's doing that today, all right? On a craftier way, man. And our people are so fucking through, man. Hey, the Lord just got to come back and deliver the elect, man. That's what it's all about. 2/3 going to die here, perish. All right? This Edomite is going down, man. He's going down, man. And we at the end, all right? Call Yahweh Bashim al-Shah, you know? And it says and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. He was a warrior, you know. King Alexander was a real warrior, man. He was nice with that sword, okay? And actually, he knew that he was, because again, going to what's that? Daniel the 8th. Let's see. I believe I wrote it in here. All right, that he-goat. Daniel actually, King Alexander actually knew he was a he-goat because the Levite priest told him. Okay, let me see. Oh, here it is. Daniel 8 verse. I'll just get to the point, you know. 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth. All right, came from the west, you know, that the land of Shittim, okay, that Greek area, our Mediterranean area. And it says, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. All right, by that he goes King Alexander. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, you know, the Median Persians, all right, and, you know, the Persians, they were much more powerful, all right, than the Medians, all right, the Medes, okay, which is like, and he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram and brake his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. All right, so again, when King Alexander established the Greek Empire, that was the end of the rulership of the Median Persians. All right, going to what? 335 BC. Okay, King Alexander had a 12-year reign. Again, he transferred his kingdom to his 4 generals. All right, so you know, hey, you brothers, you know, sisters, hey, pause the video, look, you know, type in Lysimachus, Ptolemy, Cassander, and Seleucus. All right, hey, don't be lazy when you watch these videos, man. Take your notes. All right, get your highlighters, take notes down, man. All right. It says, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Right. So that was the beginning of these Edomites, their empire. All right. Started with the Greeks. Okay. Then later the Roman Empire, which this is the Greco-Roman. This is the Roman Empire all over again, man. Okay. And you can see it in the architect. All right. Their politics, the Democrats, the Republicans, all right, going back to the plebeians and the patricians, all right, you see, that was it right there. Let me continue. I'm all over the place, like it. That's through the spirit, you know, all right. And it says, verse 2 in 1 Maccabees, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils in many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations, and kings who became tributaries unto him. Right, and that's one thing, you know, that King Alexander did to the Israelites. I mean, he didn't really put total hell on our people. He made us tributaries, but at least we got to practice the laws, such commandments. It wasn't until his 4 generals that that's where the Hellenization period came. Hellenization, making us worship, you know, their gods, you know, these Greek gods and their Greek customs. Okay? And it says, and his heart was lifted up. I've read that part. Verse 5. After these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with them from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. All right. Again, the 4 generals. Okay, I'm going to say it again. All right. Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, Cassander. All right, remember those names. And look up the regions that they ruled. All right, Ptolemy was Egypt. Seleucus was that Levant area. Lysimachus and Cassandra was like more of the Greek parts. All right. And it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. All right, he died, right, he died in 323 BC. And his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth, right? You know, evils were multiplied in the earth, and they were fighting against each other. You know, you read First Maccabees, man. You see how grimy these devils were, man. They were betraying one another, all right, going to war with one another, going to war with Israel. But the Lord set up the Maccabee brothers, and we were winning certain wars and battles, all right. And it reads, there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137th year, 137 of the kingdom of the Greeks. You see, so you see how, you know, it shoots down. All right, because remember the Seleucus, Seleucus, Ptolemy, you know, the original Ptolemy, Cassandra, Lysimachus, they were around like 302 BC. But see how it shoots down to 137? All right, because it was approximate of time. Now their offspring, their sons, were ruling, of course, and yeah, you know, ruling, spreading their customs upon nations that they ruled over. All right, especially Israel. Okay, taking down strongholds and setting up garrisons and outposts. Okay, taking over, you know, conquering and ruling. Okay, so that was it. Let me go back to Daniel 7. Let me just look. It's like it's time. Cool. It's like this. I don't know why it was dark like that. It's weird. As long as y'all heard me, shit. Yeah, I don't know why that was dark. What the hell? Hopefully y'all hear me, man. Well, let's go back. Let's continue. All right, Daniel chapter 6, verse. Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, going to his 4 generals. The leopard was the Greek Empire, starting with who? King Alexander. All right? And King Alexander actually wore like a leopard's headdress, I believe. All right? And it says the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Right. All right. And it says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, was going to the Roman Empire. And it had great iron teeth, all right, because the Roman Empire, that's one of the things that they used, and that's why they were so, like, invincible, was through that iron weapon, armor, you know. And it says, and it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it and had 10 horns. Right, it was diverse because, you know, usually when you set up someone to rule, it was through a monarch system. All right, you know, your son would rule, and it'll continually go down through that bloodline. But they will elect presidents. All right, every so often, you know. It was they had a Senate house, all right, but they'll elect their next ruler, their king, so to be, actually, through elections. Okay, you see, just like how we have today, you know, that whole inauguration, that word inauguration, it goes back to the Roman priests back then. What was it called? Agro? What was that called? Slaki. I think I have it in my notes. Hold on, bear with me 1 second. I believe I have my notes. But yeah, that whole inauguration goes back to that. All right. Agro priest, I believe. Dang. But when the Romans were ruling, all right, when the Romans were ruling, okay, it's like, yeah, when the Romans were ruling, they were conquering much more than the Greeks, okay? You know, more land and setting up provinces. And it says, it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. The 3 first horns were the Spanish, because it's jumping in, it's jumping, all right, time periods, okay? Because when Esau fell, the Roman Empire fell, the ancient Roman Empire, all right? Esau's, empire, his rulership. When Jake started to rule the Byzantine Empire, that was from like 325 AD to 1453 AD, all right? Because, the Ottoman Turks, Edomites, they took over Constantine, which was like the capital of the Byzantine Empire. That's when Esau, that's when he was just in power, all right? That's when it was fully established. Or even before that, but that was like the last stronghold for Jake. That was it, 1453. All right. But out of that, the Spanish, again, the French and the British. First it was the Spanish, then approximately amount of time, the French started to go around, conquering, setting up colonies, and then Great Britain. So the 3 horns: Spain, France, and Britain. Okay, and then that little horn, as I mentioned, that little horn that came up is America, okay, which came out of, Great Britain, all right, the Pilgrims, you read about through history, but they came over here, started their 13 colonies, 13, a Masonic number, but they started the 13 colonies, and thus, 1776, July 4th, America was established as a nation, all right, they got the independence. Okay, and it says, and it had 10 horns. All right. So now, this beast system, all right, which is comprised of NATO and EU, all right, the 7 heads being NATO, and the EU being the 10 horns. All right. See, today, okay. You know what I'm saying? Today. But if you want to go to before, all right, when Esau, again, originally, the 7 heads, again, starting with the Greeks, because that's when they first started to rule, the Edomite Empire, and then the Roman Empire, Rome, all right, or the Romans, and then you had Germania Major and Germania Minor, all right, which they had vassal states, all right? They were vassal states, because that goes to the ancient 10 horns before. Again, now today it's the EU, all right, the European Union, all right? Everything comes back to reincarnation, all right? But the ancient 10 vassal states, it was the Vandals, Ostrogoths, Alemanni, Franks, Visigoths, Burgundians, Lombards, Anglo-Saxons, Suebi, and Heruli. All right, those were your ancient 10 vassal states, which were the 10 horns before. Now they're the EU. Okay, still Edomites at the end of the day. Just like the 7 heads, it's NATO today, but before it was the Greeks. Because that was the beginning of Esau's rulership, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, Great Britain. All right. Well, let me go in order. The Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, Spanish, okay, France, and Great Britain, okay? And that, literally in that order, man. You know what I'm saying? In that order, okay? See? I'm going to read what a vassal state is. All right, it says, vassal state is a country or region that keeps its own ruler in some degree of independence, but it is formally under the control or authority of a more powerful state. The dominant state, called the suzerain or overlord, offers protection, military support, or economic benefits. In return, the vassal state must pay tribute, provide military aid, or follow the overlord's foreign policy. It was common in medieval Europe. Right. Okay. The federal lords and kings. Alright. So when Jake was ruling, we had the same thing. And also empires like China or surrounding states acknowledged Chinese supremacy while keeping their governments. Okay. Let me go back to Daniel. Alright. So let me get Revelation 13. Actually, let me get Revelation 13. All right, it's Revelation 13, verse 1, and it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." All right, we already established what were the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Okay, again, the 7 heads originally were the Greeks, Roman, Germanian Major, Germanian Minor, Spanish, French, all right, and Great Britain. Now today it's the EU, all right, and the 10 horns. Going to those 10 vassal states. I'll read it again. Vandals, Ostrogoths, Alemanni, Franks, Visigoths, Burgundians, Lombards, Anglo-Saxon, Suevi, Heruli, all right, which, they came out of that Germania, some of them, they came out of that Germanian Major and Germanian Minor as well, okay. Today is the EU, all right. And that word beast, it goes back to the Greek word therion, okay, meaning savage man. All right. Now it says rising out of the sea. All right. Rising out of the people. Okay. Let me get Revelation 17, verse 15. I'll read it one more time in 13, verse 1. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." All right. The sea representing people. Okay. Let's get Revelation 17. Verse 15. All right. And it says, "He said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth," the whore is America, "are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." You see? That's what it is. All right. Waters represent peoples, nations, rulership over the people. All right. The beast represents NATO and EU. All right. Go back to the Treaty of Rome, which was established in March 25th, 1957, was a founding agreement that created the European Economic Community, all right, EEC, the European Atomic Energy Community. Main goals: establish a common market among 6 countries: Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and West Germany. And that, way more today. Esau's trying to offset prophecy, It says promote the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. Enforce closure, political and economic cooperation in Europe. All right. In short, it laid the foundation for today's European Union, right? And NATO was established, I believe, in 1949, if I'm not mistaken. NATO was established to, ultimately be opposition of the USSR, all right, which is known as Russia, okay? So just so Russia want to expand their power, okay? Because Russia is a key player in prophecy, especially in these last 10 days, and they're Edomites as well, but they're going to be the main ones that's going to spark this World War III, all right, and send off their missiles and annihilate this place, America. Okay? Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Okay? So, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that Revelation 20. All right? Right, verse 3. And it says, cast them into the bottomless pit, shut them up, and set a seal upon them. Right, that's talking about these Edomites. Okay, the Most High put a seal upon them. So they were in the Caucasus Mountains through, like this Job. It said, I don't think I even finished that actually. Let me go back. I'll actually finish that. But they were through. They were at a lower state. You know, the real cavemen. All right, Job 30 verse 7. It says, I'll start verse 6 again. To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys and caves of the earth, and in the rocks, among the bushes they braved, under the nettles they were gathered together. Right, the grain, all that, that caveman shit, man, that caveman talk, But that's when the Most High put that seal upon him. All right, his rulership was halted. It was paused. You see, and it says that he should deceive the nations no more. So the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, right? Because that 1,000 years again, when Jake started to rule the Byzantine Empire, that's when we started to rule again. All right, and then you had our brothers in the Northern Kingdom; they were ruling. That's how you know we're the Israelites, because it was synchronized. Just as Jake was ruling, the Northern Kingdom was ruling over here. All right, the Incas, the Aztecs, okay, certain Gadite tribes, forming like the Iroquois and all that. Okay. And it says, right, that he should, I just want to say one more thing, that he should deceive the nations no more, right? Because Esau, even back then, he was deceiving nations. I believe it says in First Maccabees how they're paying our likeness, or for paraphrasing, where's that at? I think it's in, hold on, let me see. Get to the point. If I can't find it, I'm just gonna move on. I'm not gonna take too much time. All right, but they're deceiving the nations, man, paying our likeness. They were always doing that, man. But they really went out during the Renaissance. When they came back into power, the 1,000 years was fulfilled, and then Esau started to come back into power. He started to do all, what he does best all over again, deceive the nations, man. Push out his democracy, his customs, his philosophies. All right, lighting up the murals. It's called iconoclasm, man. Look that word up, iconoclasm. All right, icon, pictures, murals, clasm, destruction. He was destroying a lot of, paintings and murals and painting over them. All right. So you had images of Jake, dark-skinned, brown-skinned men. All right, woolly hair with afros. He would line up the mural, make them look like so-called white men. All right. And in Russia, they showed you, the true image of our Lord and the disciples and the Israelites. How they were brown-skinned men, look like Negroes, okay? And it says that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Right. That came, again, that 1,000-year period, when Jake was ruling Byzantine Empire, 325 to 1453, all right? And then, Esau started to come back into power during the Renaissance, which that was like in the mid-1300s. All right, everything has gradualism. But the Byzantine Empire, which was the capital was Constantine in Turkey, all right, that was like the last stronghold, man. But after that, it was like, that was it, all right? That was it for us, as Israelites, ruling, all right? And it says, and after that, he must be loose a little season, right? And this devil is loose now, ruling. All right, and now he's trying to implement his fourth industrial revolution, which, you know, I got Job 5 verse 12. Hey, the Lord's going to dismantle all that, man. He's not going to get far, okay, into his kingdom. I mean, he's not going to get far into, you know, once he set up his new order, he's not going to get far, all right? He's going to, you know, push that chip for a little while. Then it's going to be World War 3. And hell, we might be out of here in a month or two after that, okay? But he's not going to go a day over, all right? I believe it says in, what, is that the book of Job? You know, roughly paraphrasing it. You know, how it says, how it says, he has bounds that he cannot pass. All right, because every kingdom has like a time limit. You know, even us, when we were ruling, we had a time limit, and then we were brought down. Same thing with Esau. But guess what? This kingdom that Yahweh, when Yahweh returns and establishes his kingdom, is going to be eternal. You know, it's going to be an eternal kingdom, man, and we're going to be good forever. All right, let me let's go back to Daniel. You know, it's a day of going through the book of Daniel today. All right. It's that Daniel. Verse 12. All right, and it says, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. All right, yeah, Esau, Edom, his kingdom is going to be taken away. You know, it's going to be destroyed, man. By America is going to be destroyed, which America is like this Edomite's epicenter, man. It's like his capital, if you will, Basra. That was like the ancient capital of Edom, Basra. All right. It says how the Lord is going to, you know, roughly paraphrasing it, go to, you know, to Basra. All right. You see, that's America, man. Okay, today. You see, but America is going to get nuked with nuclear missiles, be totally destroyed, and no individual, no inhabitants will ever dwell here. All right, only desert-like creatures. Once that fire settles, after who knows how long, man, maybe it's centuries, you know. But once that fire settles, desert creatures going to dwell here, man. All right, you see. But America is going to be nuked. But Esau, Edom, his whole system is going to be destroyed, man. And these heathens, they're going to be put in slavery. All right, all these heathens, man. Okay, but we're going to get the first crop of slaves are going to be the elites, man. You Rockefellers, you Rothschilds, you DuPonts, you Gettys, even you elites that we don't know of. All right, your name is hidden. All right, but you go back to the lineage of Esau, Edom, we're going to get you. Okay, we're going to get you. You know, Yahweh Shai is going to get you, and his men, the elect, we're going to find you in the underground cities. Okay, see, we're telling you. Again, we're lifting up the banner. We're telling you what's going to happen, you know? And you're scared, you're terrified, all right? Actually, let me get that, and I'll come back to this. Because I mentioned underground cities, because, yeah, man, Jeremiah 16, I believe. Give me 1 second. Jeremiah 16, verse 16, it says, behold, I will send for many fishers. See, that's what we're doing right now. All right, we're fishing for the elect, man. Okay? That's why we do our lessons. We're out here, we're prophesying. We're fishing for the elect, man. And whoever tunes in through the Spirit, all right, chances are you might be part of the elect, man. All right, I hope I'm part of it. But your goal is to get built up, to learn this truth, and to go prophesy and teach yourself. You know, become a new man, become a new creature, change your ways, man, and come back to Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai as your power. Because that is your true power, man. All right? And worship him. You see, we worship Yahweh. and his only begotten Son, Yahushua. You see? Because you must go through Yahushua to get to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. All right? And we uplift those names. All right? Just like the scripture said we would. You know? So we're fulfilling prophecy, man. Everything that we're doing, prophesying. Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. All right? The 12 tribe chart sign. We got the breath, sinews. All right? You know, representing this our nationality, you know, waking back up to who we are and our power, having the breath, that knowledge, wisdom, understanding this truth. All right, certain Israelites, they just know they just know who they are. They know that they're Israelites. They don't got the full knowledge. All right, they break down scriptures wrong. You know, they don't know what the mark of the beast is. They say you gotta love Esau, Edom. You ain't supposed to hate him. When that's hell no, you should hate this devil. Fuck this devil, man. All right. I just seen some shit that made me angry, but I get it, I understand it, you know, it's judgment. But you just had that individual, Jake Travion Reed, that died in Mississippi, okay? He was lynched, hanged at Delta University, man. You know it was the culprits were Edomites, the usual suspects, all right? You see? That should be blasted on the news media, man. All right, but they always try to cover it up. Okay. Let me continue. It says, behold, verse 16 in Jeremiah 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain, from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. Yeah, because we know you Edomites are in your underground bunkers. I remember a brother did a lesson on it, the big bro, Maka Allah from LA GMS. He was going into how, I guess, hey, if you can, shit, you can call him a whistleblower, really. But it was a constructor telling you how he'll go into these billionaires and create underground bunkers, all right? And they're not no little small bunker, all right? No, it's not like an apartment building or apartment room, no. All right, these are actually huge underground bunkers, all right? But the elites, they got underground cities, okay? Probably got their own atmosphere, you know, a fake sun. Who knows, man? All right, but we'll find out soon enough. All right, soon enough we'll find out, okay? And it says, for my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. Right. It says, at first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. Right. Those Israelites, those Israelis, they're not Israelites, the true Lord. They're not the true people of the Lord. They're imposters, as it says in the scriptures. You know, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Man, they're defiling the land over there. That's why the land's so barren. You look at Israel, it's barren. All right, but when we go there, it's going to be fruitful and flourish again. All right, you see, and it said his inheritance as well. Because these elites, they're trying to destroy us as a people, man. All right, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And Israel, again, we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, so many of us are going to look like heathens as well. But primarily the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, if your lineage goes back to that through your father's side, all right, you're an Israelite, man. And you make up one of these 12, tribes right here, all right? You see? But Esau's trying to destroy us as a people, man. That's why, again, he sets up drugs, and not just in America, in other countries in South and Central America. All right? The music is a vibration, man. Remember when King Saul had a demon on him, all right, his advisors told him, hey, you know, we got to find someone to, you know, play some music for you to get this evil spirit off you. All right? Because music is a vibration. It can either bring you in a low state or a high vibration. It can make you mad. It can make you happy. All right? And then King David, bam, played that harp so beautifully, you know, That said that evil spirit fleed from Saul, man. All right. See? But these Edomites, man, they try to destroy us in every way. Separate us from our power. All right. Yahweh Bashimashai. All right. Put bywords on us. Fuck, hold on. Put bywords on us, call us, Negroes, Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, Puerto Ricans. Puerto Rican meaning rich poor, Spanish. No, you're from the tribe of Ephraim if you're from your father is from Puerto Rico. All right. You're from the tribe of Judah if your father is a so-called African American. All right. And so on. You see. But they try to give us these different nationalities. What's that in Book of Psalm? Look at the second chapter. Let me get that real quick. This Book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" All right, their vain thing is what? Their New World Order, the New World System they want to implement. All right, and it says, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against His anointed." His anointed are who? The Israelites. Saying, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." All right, ultimately destroy us as a people, take away our heritage, man. And that's why if you go into Ezekiel the 37th chapter, the dry bones, all right, dry bones representing Jacob being in a lower state, okay, not basically being like the Walking Dead spiritually, not knowing who they are, not knowing their power, all right, being separated from their true power, all right. You see? But yeah, break our bands, asunder. Ultimately, again, hiding, destroying us as a people, but hiding like our heritage away. Okay, saying we came out of Africa and the indigenous crossed the Bering Strait, all that bullshit, man. Darwinism and shit. All right, no, in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, it tells you how Gad, the Gad, but that was one of them. But the 10 tribes, I should say, the indigenous of the Americas, how they got over here. All right, we came over here in 722, around that time period, BC. We fled from the Assyrian captivity. We got on ships. We fled over here to where it says to Assyria. All right. Where it says where a man never dwelt. That's the Americas, man. Okay. Where was I at? Salakia. Not where I was at. Oh, going back to that Daniel 7. Right. Daniel 7 verse 12 again. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. All right? Hold on, Slack. Let me just see if I'm on the right. Yeah. Okay. It says, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, the chariots, and came to the Ancient of Days, Yahweh, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. All people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Right? Okay? You see? And when Yahushua's kingdom is established, again, we're going to get you heathens. We're going to put you in slavery, man. So yeah, you heathens, yeah, you're going to be in the kingdom of heaven, yeah. But you're not going to be sovereign like us Israelites. You have no partake in this commonwealth or in this covenant. No, you never have and you never will. We're going to be changed to gods and rule forever. All right? And again, like I said earlier, the first crop of slaves is going to be you elites, man. All right? Let me get that in Psalms. The book of Psalms 149, verse 6, it says, "Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand." I can't wait for that, man. So we can't do nothing to you Edomites, all right? Rest you heathens, but ultimately Edomites, we can't do nothing, man. You know, it's not our rest, or this is your kingdom. You know, the scriptures also say, "Wait upon the Lord, for vengeance is His." You'll die if you even try to go up and you know, take matters into your own hands, and ultimately you're going against the will of the Most High. You have to be patient. Once the kingdom of heaven is established, then we're going to get busy on you Edomites. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait till we get busy on you Edomites, man. Total hell and torture you. Every day is going to be beautiful, man. We're going to just wake up feeling. It says we're going to wake up upon our bed singing. We're going to just, man, imagine that waking up, you know, to whatever, you know, wife. Hell, your wife going to probably have her own palace. Well, she is going to have her own palace, but, you know, you're going to wake up, man, whatever you want to do, whatever, you know, your heart desire, all right? Fly to a planet, you know, chariot, you know? Go to one of your wives, because you already know sex is going to be one of the best things. Go to one of your wives, all right, break her down, all right? 9 months later, you know, a new Israelite, you know, a prince or a princess. All right, but hey, but we're gonna, you know, flex on you heathens, man. Or we're gonna show off. All right, probably, you know, do it in front of our families. All right, in front of Akim, have like just a group of like 1,000 Edomites, man, and just start flexing. All right, have a sword and just fly up, come back down, you know, kill all you Edomites. All right, I'm gonna make it I'm gonna be a spectacle. I'm gonna make it a show. I'm gonna have my heathens, you know, go to battle. I'm just gonna be just sitting there, you know, in my chariot with my family, just enjoying the show, man. Man, can you imagine the kid, man, eating good food, real good food? All right, breathing fresh, clean air. All right, man, going to different planets and galaxies. You know, everything your heart desires, man. And ultimately, the best part, being righteous with our power and being with our Lord Yahushua, man. Man, drinking that intergalactic wine. You know, we're going to do all that, man, in the kingdom. Okay? All right? It says, verse 7, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. All right, so we're going to get you elites, man, and fetters of iron upon you. You know, look up fetters of iron. All right, that's what you had us in. Okay, we're going to do the same unto you, double. To execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord. Praise Yahweh Bashim Shah. All right. See? So, hey, all right, you know, Lord willing, this camp was edifying. All right. Give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chahakodash, double honor to some of the apostles of Great Millstone, peace and salutation to hopeful members of the elect. All right, Lord willing, you know, this camp was edifying, man. All right, on to the next, Shalom.